Hello everyone, Ladislas Maurice from the wanderinginvestor.com. So today I'm in Panama City with Giovanna and Wi Men, who run a small family office here helping people with all their legal matters, obtaining residency, incorporation, etc. And we'll be discussing real estate transactions from a legal point of view. How are you?
Good, and you?
Very good, very good.
So let's say I come here to Panama, I want to buy a condo, a house, I shake hands with the seller, we agree on a price, and then I call you, I say, hey, help me out with this transaction. So typically, how long between that handshake and actually getting the title deed?
So the process will take 1 to 2 months.
So can you tell me about the fees and taxes that both buyers and sellers have to pay in such a transaction?
In general, the buyer need to pay for the closing of the real estate transaction is the title closure and also the registration fees. That depends the value of the property, of course. But let's say in average, like $300,000, usually the registration fees is above of $1,500, not including the other fees involved with the notaries and the lawyer professional fees.
Okay, so nothing too dramatic. Cool. What about the seller?
For the seller, need to pay the 2% of the transfer tax and also the 3% of the property value tax. After the transaction is done and the property is registered and also in the tax office, this owner can actually apply with the tax office to claim a credit of the 10% based on the 3% that has been retained before. That could be considered the minor value if the 10% is less than the 3% that initially the seller paid. So they can claim that back and as a credit or cash. Of course, there's a timeline in the policy of the tax office. Depends on the scenario, they will give a timeline. It's better to talk to the accountant to do this process.
Cool. So essentially your accountants on your team can do this. Your lawyers, accountants get together and figure it out.
Yes.
That's right.
Because look, when you look online, you generally see, a bit of registration taxes. A lot of people say 5% for selling fees, but it's more complex than that. There are exemptions, a few loopholes. Sometimes actually it's the buyer that has to pay taxes depending on the structure of the property. It's a bit complex. Nothing is really straightforward. It's not the end of the world. It's very manageable. It's not complicated for professionals, but when you first dig into it as a retail investor, it can be a little surprising and it's never as easy as what you see online. I think that's a good way of summarizing, right?
That's correct.
That's right.
Cool. So what are some of the typical issues when your lawyers start digging into the title deeds, et cetera, that they find that could be issues for buyers?
So it's very important to do the due diligence of the property. Check if the property is not being seized by banks or like it's in the middle of a family lawsuit. It's important to check if there's taxes involved, pending taxes with the government too. All of these are part of like the due diligence process that we do before purchasing property in Panama.
All right, fantastic. Look, the reality is you always hear stories of people getting played when they invest in real estate overseas, but that's because they don't use good lawyers to actually do the due diligence. I've done deals all over the world. I've never run into fundamental issues with title deeds because I just hire reputable law firms and competent lawyers that understand foreigners, because if you hire a local lawyer who never deals with foreigners, he might assume that you understand certain things even though you don't because you're not aware of how the market operates. So it's important to really choose lawyers that understand and that deal with foreigners. So if you're about to go through a real estate transaction here in Panama, do feel free to get in touch with Giovanna and Wi Men. There's a link below. They have lawyers and CPAs on their team who will be able to help you from A to Z. Giovanna, Wi Men, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Make sure to download my free ebook, 12 Mistakes to Avoid When Investing in International Real Estate, which you can find on my website, link below. And feel free to follow me on Instagram @TheWandering Investor. I look forward to hearing from you.